It is Friday, January 12th, and this is The National.
Tonight, near the end of his first presidential year, what many are asking today, is Donald Trump racist? We'll look at the evidence.
A Canadian man is freed from a French prison after terrorism charges are dropped. His wife takes us through a family's 10-year ordeal.
But we begin with an incident in Toronto. Police investigating this as a hate crime. The victim, an 11-year-old girl.
Me and my brother were walking together to school, and sadly, someone insulted me by cutting my hijab.
That is Kaula Noman talking about a walk to class that turned violent. That man came up behind her, grabbing her hood, cutting a gash in her hijab about 1 foot or 30 centimeters long, apparently smiling as he did it, in broad daylight, just minutes from her Toronto school. In a neighborhood that prides itself on inclusiveness, students, teachers, and the larger community were shaken. Stephanie Skandaris spent the day there.
I feel confused, scared, terrified.
Kaula Noman's walk to school turned into a nightmare when she says a man came up behind her, pulled down the hood of her coat, and cut her hijab.
And I turned around and I saw him with his scissors, and he ran away.
But it wasn't over. Noman says she and her brother crossed the street to join a group of kids, but the man followed and cut her hijab again.
I felt scared and worried about my sister and think what's going to happen next to her.
For Noman's mother, it was heart-wrenching.
I'm just so happy she's safe. I'm very frustrated and I'm angry, but I don't, you know what? We believe in peace and Canada. Like, I'm so proud to be a Canadian, and I want to give him the same message. Why are you thinking like this? Like, you know, we're all together in this.
She says in 25 years in Canada, she's always felt safe, especially in this part of town. Scarborough has long been known for its diversity. The school board says students are shaken.
This is a school where it's not just preaching inclusiveness, it's living it.
Toronto police say they're investigating the incident as a hate crime and already have a few leads on the suspect.
The description that the little girl gave police is he's in his 20s, 5'8" to 6 feet tall, medium build, with black hair, mustache, and glasses.
And for Kaula Noman, nothing but praise.
This girl was brave enough to confront the man, look at the man, make a noise, and then even proceeded to walk with a bunch of other kids after the first one happened, realizing their safety in numbers.
Even with street smarts, she's nervous about walking to school.
I'm actually really scared, but I have family to support me and everything.
Stephanie Skandaris, CBC News, Toronto.
Reaction from all corners has been swift. The mayor of Toronto, John Tory, says he's appalled. The premier, Kathleen Wynne, calls it heinous. The prime minister speaking out as well, saying Canadians wouldn't tolerate that kind of behavior.
My heart goes out to the young girl who was attacked, seemingly for her religion. I can't imagine how afraid she must have been. I want her and her family and her friends and community to know that that is not what Canada is, and that is not who Canadians are.
We were curious about the number of hate crimes recorded in Canada, and according to Stats Canada, it's a small percentage of all crimes, 1/10 of 1%, though it is increasing. There were just over 1,400 reported incidents in 2016. The number of recorded hate crimes against Muslims actually dropped, with 20 fewer incidents. Well, Andrew, in U.S. politics, there are questions about the president and tolerance.
Yeah, we all know about the big hole Donald Trump dug for himself yesterday, allegedly describing some African countries as shitholes. It sparked a pretty fiery backlash, and today reporters asked Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for his reaction.
I think you all know that I'm not going to opine on what the President may or may not have said. I will simply repeat that Canada is a country of openness, of respect, and we will continue to be there to support friends around the world and to welcome people who will contribute to building a stronger country.
Now, former Governor General Michaëlle Jean, who's now head of La Francophonie, did have something to say. She called the remarks disturbing and an insult before humanity. Now, for his part, Trump issued a kind of vague denial that he used the word we're talking about. But as Keith Bogue tells us, that hasn't exactly put the issue to bed.
As it happens today, the president's schedule included an Oval Office signing of a proclamation honoring the country's most famous civil rights leader, Martin Luther King Jr. Who would ever have imagined an occasion like that ending like this?
Mr. President, did you refer to African Asians? You were shitholes.
Mr. President, are you a racist?
It's far from the first time the questions come up. Is the president a racist? But this time, his reportedly vulgar dismissal of African countries as incapable of providing worthy immigrants to the United States puts the question firmly in the context of an evolving immigration policy. Democratic Senator Dick Durbin was in the Oval Office when he says Donald Trump said things
which were hate-filled, vile, and racist. I use those words advisedly. I understand how powerful they are. But I cannot believe that in the history of the White House, in that Oval Office, any president has ever spoken the words that I personally heard our president speak yesterday.
Trump tweeted this morning that this was not the language used. Seeing that tweet, Durbin essentially called the president a liar.
It is not true. He said these hate-filled things, and he said them repeatedly.
Republican Senator Jeff Flake was in the room too and confirmed to reporters that Trump said what Durbin said he said. Two other Republican senators in the room said they didn't hear what was said. Republican House Leader Paul Ryan wasn't in the room but seemed not to give the president the benefit of any doubt.
I read those comments later last night. So first thing that came to my mind was very unfortunate, unhelpful.
During the election, Ryan said one Trump comment was textbook racism, but that he'd support him anyway. Not all Republicans were mealy-mouthed.
This is a pattern of racist statements. This is a man who made his name in the political world, doubting President Obama's American citizenship, saying that he was born in Kenya.
Right-wing columnist Ann Coulter, who's been critical of Trump on immigration lately, heard about his comments and tweeted, "He's trying to win me back." Former Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard David Duke tweeted, "Hail Trump."
And Keith joins me now for more on what this actually means. Because, Keith, there's no doubt Trump's comments sparked a strong emotional reaction. But what are the hard political consequences here?
Well, you know, I think it's almost easier to see what's damaging about what Trump said when you strip away the vulgarity. Because then what you're left with is Trump saying, we don't want Africans in this country. And when you consider that there are millions and millions of African Americans whose ancestors were kidnapped and brought here as slaves and who've lived their lives here as families for hundreds of years, that's going to have a much clearer ring in their ear than it does in the ear of someone who looks like me. The other point I would make is that although Trump has said many times many things on the campaign trail and during the election campaign itself that were incendiary about immigration, very often he was talking about illegal immigration. These comments are really about describing an immigration policy that will reverse 50 years of immigration to the United States that was aimed at diversifying the country. And there'll be a lot of Republicans even across the country who will be shaking their heads and thinking, boy, that's a short-term strategy.
Right. And Keith, just hang on there, because in just a moment, I do want to ask you about that larger puzzle that this latest incident fits into. Because, as you say, I mean, the whole story doesn't exactly come out of left field. It's all part of a years-long pattern of racially charged controversy.
When Mexico sends its people, they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Of course, there are Trump's first statements upon entering the presidential race.
And some, I assume, are good people.
But Trump has long seemed obsessed with crime committed by minorities. For instance, the so-called Central Park Five. Men, 4 black, 1 Hispanic, accused in the 80s of a violent rape.
You better believe that I hate the people that took this girl and raped her brutally.
Long after they were exonerated by DNA evidence, Trump still said they were guilty. Trump's also promoted the so-called birther movement that believes Barack Obama is secretly African, not American, and should have been barred from the presidency.
He gave a birth certificate. Now all we have to do is find out whether or not it was real.
On the campaign, he initially refused to denounce David Duke after the former head of the KKK endorsed him.
I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
But of course, that's hard to square. In years past, Trump had publicly displayed knowledge of Duke in statements and interviews. He's posted controversial tweets, sometimes from accounts that feature white nationalist or Nazi themes. Then there's last summer's deadly violence in Charlottesville, Virginia, at the hands of white nationalists. He was criticized for seeming reluctant to condemn them.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
So let's get back to Keith now, because Keith, you'd heard all those comments before. You've delved deep into the political phenomenon that is Donald Trump. Did this surprise you?
Well, you know, when I first started covering Trump's campaign in 2015, I knew about the birtherism part of his biography, but I was surprised at that time to discover how white nationalist groups, white supremacists, even neo-Nazis, had been hearing a message from Trump for a long time, and they thought that he was their guy. And through the course of time, I think that's become kind of an accepted thing, that Trump has had this underground appeal to that segment, that fringe segment of society, and that it's actually larger than people had expected. I think it's understood now. Whether Trump is a racist, I don't know. I can't see into his mind, but I think it's pretty clearly established that, from a political analysis point of view, he's a racial opportunist. We've seen it over and over again, so we shouldn't be surprised by what's happened now.
Keith Bogue in Washington. Thanks.
Those controversial comments weren't the only thing on Donald Trump's mind today. He also canceled his visit to London for the opening of a new U.S. Embassy building, and that got a lot of reaction from many people there who don't buy why he says he's doing that now. The CBC's Thomas Dagla has that story.
This is as close as it gets to a picture with Donald Trump in London. Madame Tussauds Wax Museum showing off its look-alike statue placed outside the building that's ostensibly keeping Trump away. The new U.S. Embassy, the one he calls a bad deal in an off location.
This new location was chosen in part for security reasons. There's no other building right beside it, and take a look at all those cameras way up there, all positioned to capture any movement nearby.
Many think this is more likely what's keeping him away, the threat of protests. Demonstrations erupted with just the offer of a state visit.
Here you have the head of state of another country who's not only promoted hatred and division in his own country, but is surely, given his online activity, guilty of doing the same in our country too.
London Mayor Sadiq Khan said today Trump's visit next month would, without doubt, have been met by mass peaceful protests. Brexit champion Nigel Farage, the first British politician to meet Trump in office, says the mayor and the Labour Party are the ones encouraging the opposition to Trump's visit.
I would like to see the president come here. And I think actually I'd like to see him deal with his critics in open, proper, public debate.
Much has changed since the president and the British Prime Minister held hands at the White House. He reposted videos from a British hate group. She criticized his plan to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. Nothing to help the two countries' so-called special relationship.
It's extensive, it's robust, it's deep, it's historical. Nonetheless, this really, I think, undermines efforts to move forward and look into the future.
Officially, Trump's state visit with the Queen is still set to go, but no plans have been announced and no date has been set. Thomas Dagler, CBC News, London.
Interestingly, some people who usually stay behind the scenes, U.S. Embassy staff in London, had more than a few things to say publicly today. In response to what their own president called a bad deal by the Obama administration to construct a new building for $1.2 billion, the U.S. Embassy statement says that it was in 2007 that the department developed a plan to finance a new embassy project. That means it was under the Bush administration, that it was a property swap which used no taxpayer dollars, and that the old building had aged beyond its ability to be improved to current security and life safety standards. And another note, despite Trump's ongoing threats to kill the Obama-era Iran nuclear deal, he kept it alive today for the third time while still condemning Iran's nuclear program. This is a last chance, Trump said in a statement, warning the U.S. might pull out in 3 months' time. I am waiving the application of certain nuclear sanctions, but only in order to secure our European allies' agreement to fix the terrible flaws of the Iran nuclear deal. Meanwhile, those European allies were meeting with Iran's foreign minister just yesterday, seemingly a show of unity in favor of the existing deal, which lifts economic sanctions as long as Iran stops pursuing nuclear weapons.
Well, back in this country, a major development tonight in a long-running story. A Lebanese Canadian suspected of taking part in a terrorist attack in Paris 37 years ago is finally a free man tonight.
Almost everyone knew that the evidence was not credible. And that, he shouldn't have been extradited, he shouldn't have been imprisoned. And it was 9 years that was taken from his life.
Hassan Diab was being held in a maximum security prison in France, facing first-degree murder charges. But today, he was set free after judges assessed the evidence against him. Our David Cochran sat down with Diab's wife, who hopes today's decision will finally mark the end of his decade-long legal battle.
For more than a decade, French prosecutors have maintained this was the work of Hassan Diab. It's October 1980. A motorcycle parked in front of a Paris synagogue, its saddlebags packed with explosives. The blast killed 4 people, injured dozens more.
One day you are just a regular person doing your regular job, and then the next day there is, association with a very heinous crime.
Rania Tafali and Hassan Diab were married for just 2 years when this all started. It was 2008, 28 years after the bombing, when the RCMP arrested Diab at France's request.
I have been living a Kafkaesque nightmare.
They spent 6 years fighting extradition before he was sent to France and thrown into prison.
They didn't even let us say goodbye to him. So he was extradited right away. And, we had a daughter who was asking about him. I was 7 months pregnant. And it does leave a big void.
She has raised the family and worked for his freedom ever since, relying on a coalition of supporters who do everything from helping around the house to fundraising for legal bills. The evidence against Diab was a mix of secret intelligence and handwriting analysis that many experts said was suspect. Even the judge who committed Diab for extradition called the case weak.
The evidence of his guilt, or supposed guilt, certainly hasn't changed. If anything, it's grown weaker over the years. The evidence of his innocence, however, has accumulated.
It took years for French judges to come to that conclusion, today ordering his immediate release. They found numerous holes in the case, including evidence that Diab was in Lebanon writing university exams when the bomb went off. Lawyers called his family this morning with the news.
I must have been making some noises because they told me, Rania, please don't have a heart attack now. But I told them it has been almost 10 years, and today he's going to walk a free and declared innocent person. It is really special.
The relief is tempered by the toll: 10 years of legal bills, children Diab missed growing up, a son he hasn't seen outside of a prison visiting room.
He missed a lot, 3 years, more than 3 years, 3 years and 2 months of the lives of his children that he would never get it back, no matter what.
He is free tonight in Paris after more than 1,100 days in a French prison, confined to his cell for 22 hours a day. Tafali doesn't know when he will be home. He's free, but he doesn't have a valid passport, so he can't travel yet. She just hopes it's soon.
I want it to stop. Well, I want Hassan to come back, and then I want time to stop.
David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Still ahead tonight on The National, their homes were flooded to save the city of Winnipeg. Now, First Nations in Manitoba could finally be getting tens of millions in compensation, but life is still far from normal.
Plus, it was one of the first big events televised around the world. Tonight, the Queen speaks candidly about her coronation and the physical perils of wearing the crown.
But first, the healing power of music, the Canadian charity project that's giving a new voice to victims of war.
If you live in an active conflict zones, one of the last things you can take away from somebody is the ability to sing.
Well, it's always been the case that blowing the whistle on Russia was risky, but here's a reminder of just how dangerous it is. Yulia and Vitaly Stepanov are the young Russians who first told the world about the extent of doping in that country and have been on the run ever since. They now say they have had to move again suddenly. It seems there was a disturbing incident they're not quite ready to talk about yet. Her email was then hacked, and then something called her Adams account was hacked. An Adams account is held with the World Anti-Doping Agency. It's a way for athletes to register their whereabouts so that testers can find them to do the doping tests. Now, the Stepanovs say that WADA has informed them that Yulia's was the only Adams account to be hacked. That suggests to them, in no uncertain terms, that someone is actually hunting them right now, and so they have had to bolt. Remember the background here. Yulia is an athlete who was caught up in the Russian doping system and served a ban. Vitaly was a doping control officer. Both were fed up with the cheating. They took hidden videos, recorded secret audio, sent hundreds of emails to WADA before action and investigations were ever taken. But the moment they did that, they were considered traitors by Russia, isolated by family and friends, and had to move and be on their own. The one hope for this young couple recently was that Yulia might be allowed to compete here in Rio. She'd actually been cleared to do so by the IAAF, which wanted to thank her for her bravery. Even though she'd once served a doping ban, they wanted to demonstrate that her sacrifice meant something and to encourage other whistleblowers to potentially come forward. But the IOC shut the door firmly to that. She will have to watch her event from afar. It's the women's 800 meter. It begins on Wednesday. Where she'll be watching that from, even she doesn't seem to know right now. Adrienne Arsenault, CBC News, Rio.
On the National tonight, Concordia University in Montreal has reassigned 2 creative writing teachers after allegations of sexual misconduct. We told you earlier this week about a former student who described harassment and inappropriate behavior in the writing program. That led to a series of other allegations. The university says it's brought in an external investigator. Also tonight, some new numbers from Canada's Public Health Agency about this season's flu. So far, 54 people have died as a result of influenza, and there have been a total of 15,572 lab-confirmed cases. That's considered a high number, considering we're only January, and they're expecting that number to keep going up.
A judge in Manitoba has approved a multi-million-dollar settlement for thousands of First Nations members who suffered flood losses in 2011. Some will get tens of thousands of dollars, but many say no amount of money will allow them to fully heal.
We can never put it into words the way we feel. Even right now, sitting here, there's a lot of depression and stress.
The provincial and federal governments agreed last year to a $90 million settlement. The money will go to individuals in 4 First Nations. The communities flooded after the Manitoba government diverted water from the Assiniboine River into Lake Manitoba to prevent flooding in Winnipeg. As Karen Pauls tells us, many of those who were hardest hit are still not able to return home.
It's been nearly 7 years of living as an evacuee, but Muriel Woodford finally has a new house on reserve, where life is a little quieter than downtown Winnipeg.
The addictions, drugs, alcohol, and the dangers of living in Winnipeg.
But after dreaming of home for so long, it's not quite what Woodford expected.
So the water in that tap, where does that come from?
From the water tank outside.
And can you drink this water?
No.
Water is trucked in, sewage trucked out, but
we only have 2 water trucks and 2 septic trucks.
Still, these are the lucky ones. 2,000 other people are still living in hotels and apartments in Winnipeg. It's costing the federal government $1.6 million every month to cover those expenses. Total cost of the evacuation so far, $175 million. The provincial and federal governments have not admitted wrongdoing for diverting the water that flooded 4 First Nations, but they have agreed to pay $90 million in compensation. About 7,600 band members are eligible. Depending on how many opt in, adults affected the most could get up to $67,000 each.
They can finally start over again, and they've been waiting for that opportunity to just put this behind them and move on.
But one of the original plaintiffs in this class action suit says the compensation comes too late for too many evacuees.
Just today, another elder from Lake St. Martin passed on here in Winnipeg, and he's never going to see anything or enjoy the benefits of this decision.
Still today, it affects all of us.
Muriel Woodford welcomes the compensation, but she says so much of what was lost can never be replaced. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Little Saskatchewan First Nation, Manitoba.
And ahead tonight on The National, young filmmakers capture the realities of being homeless by tapping into some first-hand experience. You'll hear what they learned from each other.
But first, the Canadian producer who's helping empower victims of war through the strength of song.
What that does is it unlocks trauma that's normally never been talked about.
I even get the denial and the whining and the crying about the popular vote.
Facebook has also been roundly criticized for becoming a home to fake news. But is YouTube, the video sharing website owned by Google, any better?
We know that our government has no problem killing masses of civilians, okay?
People looking for information in the moments immediately after a breaking news story are often getting a mix of fact and fabrication. Take, for example, the mass shooting earlier this month at a church in Sutherland Springs, Texas.
Brother Jim reporting here from End Times Prophecy News.
Within hours, dozens of videos popped up purporting to have exclusive details on the shooter.
I have 100% proof here that he's far leftist and he's Antifa, okay?
And they quickly gathered tens of thousands of views, pushing them to the top of the most watched algorithms.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are broadcasting worldwide.
Alex Jones, who created InfoWars, is probably the best known conspiracy theorist and fake news peddler on YouTube.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Serious crap.
His YouTube channel has more than 2 million subscribers. That's only slightly fewer than CNN's YouTube channel. BuzzFeed's Jane Litvinenko covers the problem of fake news and thinks we should all be paying more attention to what's happening at YouTube.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what's been happening on Facebook and Twitter. How is YouTube different when it comes to fake news?
YouTube is different because it doesn't play to emotion the same way that Facebook or Twitter do. So when you share a headline to Facebook or Twitter, it's the headline that matters. With YouTube, it's the actual contents of the video that matters. So with YouTube, somebody will take your hand and walk you through their conspiracy or their coverage, if you will.
And they're quick to jump in, right?
Absolutely.
After these breaking news events like we showed.
Absolutely. That's the very similar thing between YouTube and other social media networks, that they're a lot faster than the legitimate information that's reaching them.
Okay, so when we talk about legitimate information now, are people getting their news from YouTube?
Some people are. I mean, YouTube is its own social network, just as some people exclusively get news from Facebook and exclusively get news from Twitter or any other website. YouTube is its own bubble, and there's no question that people are watching these videos and they're thinking that they have the whole picture.
And if you did try to challenge some of the stuff that's out there, is it even possible to do that?
It is so difficult with YouTube. So YouTube video is 10 minutes long, for example, or 15 minutes long. And in the span of those 15 minutes, we're getting so much information and so many either facts or fiction, that to break it down and to challenge it, you would have to go point by point by point by point. But whereas on Facebook or Twitter, there's a way to sort of reply or flag false content, there isn't on YouTube. So there's no guarantee that somebody who's watched the video on YouTube will also see all the points that you're debunking elsewhere.
But what about the comments section?
Oh, the comments section. Sure, you could place it there, but there are thousands of comments on a lot of these videos, right. Hundreds. It's so easy for the real information to get lost.
So there's tons of pressure on Facebook, on Twitter as well, to kind of clean up its act and get rid of the fake news and all of the ways that it probably should have done something about 5 years ago. Is there any pressure on YouTube?
So there is some pressure on Google, and most of that is coming from U.S. lawmakers.
Funny, I had spent years being ignored and laughed at, but wanted to bring music to a conflict zone. Now that we've proven its effectiveness, it actually works in a tangible medical way, we're getting a lot of interest.
Today, 2 albums went on sale around the world. They're filled with songs about surviving violence and rape, and they were written and performed in Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo by people who know all too well what they're singing about. Cameron McIntosh meets the Winnipeg producer who helped show how music heals.
It's a song of optimism, a woman's defiant response to the violence and trauma that marks everyday life for many in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
You know, simple but profound lyrics of, within me is a lawyer that will right all the inequities. Within me is a president that will fix my country.
Winnipeg music producer Darcy Adaman helped make it happen.
So this is actually Sandra, one of our artists. She was raped, became pregnant, lost a child, and is HIV positive from the rape. And spent, I don't know how long, in the hospital side repairing herself physically, came to our program for the aftercare, for the psychological, emotional, spiritual healing, and wrote the song called My Body's Not a Weapon.
It's one of 12 songs being released by Warner Music Canada to draw attention to the suffering in the DRC.
If you live in an active conflict zones, one of the last things you can take away from somebody is the ability to sing.
For years in the DRC, militia groups and the government have fought over mineral resources, subjecting millions to disease, starvation, and rape. Adaman started Make Music Matter to offer counseling to victims of war through music.
Artists come in and write and record songs about their experiences, working with a local music producer and a local psychologist. And what that does is it unlocks trauma that's normally never been talked about.
Justin Sekiru is a psychologist turned record producer.
The whole Republic of Congo having violence and war. So the program is well needed in those areas.
The music is written and recorded in the DRC, then sent to Mississauga's Metalworks Studios for post-production. It caught the attention of one of Canada's top bands, Billy Talent. Guitarist Ian Desaw encouraged Warner Music Canada to release the songs globally.
I think it'll be incredibly interesting to hear some of the things that other people have gone through in their lives and things that have happened to them in another country that you've never even been to.
Who are you hoping hears this?
Up until now, what was lacking is sort of the Western part of the world hearing these songs en masse.
In the DRC, radio stations have picked up the songs. There's been an impact. Militias have publicly tried to distance themselves from the accusations of rape and abuse.
It's fascinating that someone with the bullets is scared of someone with the songs.
Warner says it will put out more albums. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now, where could those new albums come from? Well, Make Music Matter has made inroads into Turkey to help Syrian refugees, and it hopes to expand into Iraq this year. Here's a look at its music therapy facility in Rwanda, where it helps children who live in households that are headed by children. And in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the group's training people from 2 major NGOs, so they too can use music to heal.
Still ahead on The National, young documentarians put the spotlight on homelessness. We'll introduce you to some of the filmmakers and the people whose stories they're sharing.
She's a gem. She's like the sweetest woman you'd ever meet. She just loves to knit. She's very quirky. She's very cheerful. She'll always throw in a joke when you least expect it.
Oh, just another day on the West Coast. CBC videographer Krista Wara took these pictures. He was aboard a BC ferry to Vancouver from Nanaimo when this fast-moving pod of Pacific white-sided dolphins swam just meters from the ship.
Brenda Rochford has lived most of her 39 years in pain. She was born with an extremely rare disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Basically, it makes everything very weak and fragile. My joints are dislocate easily, my skin rips easily. I'm very weak, muscular-wise.
She's been prescribed all kinds of painkillers for her illness, but the drug that gives her the most relief is marijuana. Can you describe the difference that the pot made, the change?
I wasn't getting muscle spasms as often, near as often, maybe once a week instead of daily. Not near as severe, or the length of period wouldn't be as long. My joint pain doesn't seem to hurt as much. I have arthritis. That doesn't seem to flare up as much when I smoke. It helps me mentally, gives me the ability to cope with each day, because I never know what each day is going to be like.
For hundreds of years, the medicinal qualities of marijuana were well recognized. The drug was recommended for everything from menstrual cramps to epileptic seizures, migraines to insomnia. In fact, based on the overwhelming anecdotal evidence, marijuana was included in the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, the North American Bible of accepted drugs. Then, in 1941, it was taken out, following an intense campaign by the U.S. Federal Bureau of Narcotics to make it not only illegal, but evil. It worked. Ever since, marijuana, or cannabis, has become the evil weed, and users, criminals.
What we know about cannabis and its usefulness is just the tip of the iceberg.
Dr. Lester Grinspoon is a professor of psychiatry at Harvard. He's written several books advocating the medicinal uses of marijuana.
Doctors have been both victims and agents of the government disinformation campaign on marijuana, and many of them still believe such hoary myths that marijuana, for example, is addictive. So it's going to take time to educate doctors, but they are getting educated.
People who smoke cannabis on their own prescription are really not a good model for the medical use of cannabis.
Dr. Harold Callant is a pharmacologist at the University of Toronto and a contributor to a recent report by the World Health Organization on the health effects of cannabis use.
I can't accept anecdotal evidence by untrained observers who may have other motives for wanting to say that it's good. I can't accept that as proof that it is really effective therapy.
But supposing it's only 1 person in 100, why, given the fact that the toxicity of this drug is so limited, why shouldn't that person be able to use it?
What are some of the accepted uses of cannabis?
The 2 that are official, for which there is approval, are for the relief of nausea and vomiting caused by cancer chemotherapy.
I got laid off,
And that was the beginning of a downfall.
Just one of the characters featured in a remarkable set of new short films produced by an unlikely team from Brampton, Ontario, just outside Toronto. 15 young filmmakers telling the stories of seniors who know the harsh reality of homelessness. The CBC got a behind-the-scenes look at their process and a chance to hear how closely those young filmmakers could identify with their subjects.
Okay, let's grab a seat. Let's get started.
We want to make some powerful films and advocate for change in the world around homelessness. Real Youth is basically to have young people explore their roles as leaders in the world while producing films about important issues. And this is our first time doing an intergenerational program focused around homelessness.
Unplugged. I'm going to plug it over.
Daniel, have you watched Adventure Time?
My name is Kendall, and at various times in my life, I have been a homeless person.
You want him more to the side still?
Yeah. When I first met him, I just had a conversation like he was an old friend, and he was just telling me about his experiences. It was like he was imparting knowledge upon me.
Get in close, get a meeting close.
See, I thought I had a thought of different things I could say, but...
Having to sleep outside, I would climb up on fire escapes, find some little cubby hole somewhere to hide away, somewhere where the rain wasn't going to fall on me. I had pneumonia. The nurse telling me, you know what your problem is, you need to get yourself off the street. Telling me like I didn't want to get off the street. I did, I just didn't know how.
Action. Okay, so I feel like we could have him walking as if he was heading to the park.
There's a driveway I could walk on behind the building.
He told me that he has been on and off of the streets since about 1982. A few years ago, I actually lost my home. My family and I lost our home, and we ended up staying at a friend's house, and so it was difficult because you don't have anything, and so I know a bit about what that's like, and so I wanted to understand more how someone who had it worse than I did, how they feel.
My worst fears is that one day I might die outside in an alley or somewhere.
To start. 3, 2, 1, go.
After the incident with my wife and my stepson and my in-laws, the deaths of them in 10 months, I went through a drinking problem. So I went to AA meetings prior to going to rehab and found out that actually I wasn't an alcoholic. I was just trying to drown the memory of everything.
So start looking down there and then turn to the camera and look at the camera and smile. When Jack brought us to the place where he sleeps, it's fenced in an area beside a park where it's not very accessible to others, and there's trains passing by all the time.
I've been coming here for 3 years. I sleep here and that's about all I do.
And just to know that he has to go through that experience every single day, it's sad.
All right, I'm ready. You ready? Action. All right. All right. Good job, Jack. Last year, our landlord was hiking the rent up a bunch of, numerous times throughout the year. Then it came to the point where we couldn't handle it. So then my family, we moved out of the house we were renting, and we moved into with my uncle and my aunt. I felt very sad. I didn't really want to share it, but it really made me connected to them.
Let's see the pose. Lovely, lovely.
Take it up. Yeah.
Next one. Oh, Glenda, she's a gem. She's like the sweetest woman you'd ever meet. She just loves to knit. She's very quirky. She's very cheerful. She'll always throw in a joke when you least expect it. Unfortunately, she hasn't been having, and if you can just look in the mirror, the best situations when it comes to finding a home. She finally got out of living in her van for a year to living in her home now, a basement apartment without heat, without hot water, you know, without light. And just visiting there, just feel the cold seeping through my clothes.
This is the time when you can look at the camera.
Oh, I see. Which one? There, the light, or over
This
there?
camera right in the middle, right over here.
When I first came to Canada, I mean, I think a lot of people are under this impression that, oh, it's like first world country or like a developed country, so there's like no situation over here, but that's not the case. The first interview that we did with Glenda was in the van, because she lived in the van for like almost a year and a half.
Headphones.
When I came here to Brampton, and that my son was on his own, and there was just me, but to find a place was hard, and it's still hard.
When I watched the footage on the first night, I was really touched because I wasn't there for the filming. You know, we teach the youth, we give them the skills, and then they go off and make these films, and you don't really know what's happening. But I was really touched by how open most of the seniors were about their story, and I knew the films were going to be really powerful.
So prior to coming into this program, I had like no experience working with cameras or filmmaking or anything like that. And now I feel like I might have hidden talent. I might be the next Christopher Nolan. You never know. So.
Yeah, I can hear it.
You can hear it?
Yeah. The biggest takeaway would be the whole entire experience. Like, you can never judge a book by its cover. You can see someone on the street and you will never know their story until you either experienced it or if you asked them what it was specifically.
Yeah, perfect. When I asked Jack, what message do you want to get out of this film, he told me that he just really wants to spread awareness about the situation. He told me that 85% of homeless people, it's not their fault that they're homeless.
So I just want to finish by going over some of the Filmmaking 101 stuff that we talked about already. You know, ultimately, I hope that this project shifts the conversation on homelessness. Homelessness is at a crisis level in Canada, and it's something that we can solve. It's something that we can end. It's just a matter of having the political will to do it.
All 5 mini documentaries will be screened during the Real Youth Film Festival in Brampton on January 24th.
Well, this must have been quite the day. At a lavish ceremony watched by millions around the world, the coronation of Queen Elizabeth on June 2nd, 1953 marked the first time a Queen of Canada was crowned. Now, in a rare interview for a BBC documentary, the Queen has shared some memories of that historic day, including some uncomfortable moments.
Horrible. There's none meant for traveling in at all. I mean, it's just not, it's only sprung on leather. Once you put it on, it stays. I mean, it just remains itself.
You have to keep your head very still.
Yes. And you can't look down to read the speech. You have to take the speech up. Because if you did, your neck would break, or it'd fall off. So there are some disadvantages to crowns, but otherwise, they're quite important things.
Go deeper on the stories of the day earlier in the day. Subscribe to our newsletter at cbcnews.ca/The National. The National Today takes you inside our journalism every afternoon.
When people talk about immigration, they often talk about money. But is immigration good or bad for an economy? Here are the facts. High levels of immigration tend to expand the total size of an economy. More people in Canada means more people buying clothes, groceries, and cars. More people equals more money being spent. So our economy gets bigger, but that doesn't necessarily mean more money for everyone. Typically, in developed countries, GDP per capita doesn't increase much. At least, not initially. New immigrants tend to have much lower earnings than their Canadian-born counterparts. During their first years in Canada, they don't pay as much tax as the average Canadian, and they're more likely to get help from the government. But that changes over time. A Carleton economics prof says, in terms of social assistance, immigrants eventually become like the rest of the population. And in time are no greater drain on government services than people born in Canada. So eventually, immigrants don't need more social assistance than Canadians. But what about their impact on the job situation? According to the experts we spoke to, immigration does have some initial negative impacts on wages and employment. That's because an influx of people working for lower wages brings down averages in an area. But that's short term. Long term, the impact on workers is neutral. Not a benefit, not a burden. Newcomers are also more entrepreneurial than the general population once they get comfortable in their new country. Business ownership rates are higher among immigrants who've been in Canada for a decade or more. But they're more likely to have a service or a retail startup, and their businesses tend to be on a smaller scale than their Canadian counterparts. Think of it this way. If you take 100 immigrants and 100 people born in Canada, the immigrants will start more businesses, but they'll employ fewer people in total. But having an influx of immigrants is still valuable for a country like Canada with an aging population. All those retiring boomers mean taxpayers will be on the hook for higher healthcare costs, benefits, and government services. Low-skilled immigrants can help fill labor shortages, and newcomers with a higher education, work experience, and the desire to make things happen, they can transform a country or even a sector. Case in point, Silicon Valley in the US. Of the 87 most valuable private startups, more than half were founded by immigrants. And 71% of them had immigrants in key executive roles. And there are also countless examples of immigrant success stories in Canada.
Representing Canada, Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer.
These two sprinkle magic moments all through their performance.
One of the most decorated teams of all time. Won Olympic gold in Vancouver.
So much chemistry.
That was wonderful. Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer.
Awesome.
On an all-new Murdoch,
Woody Allen.
a field full of suspects.
Who handed him the bat?
The bomb that killed him was inside it. In a con man's game of revenge.
This man is an imposter. So tell us, who are you?
Murdoch Mysteries, Monday at 8 on CBC. The Olympic Winter Games are coming to CBC, Canada's Olympic Network.
Our first winning number tonight is 70.
On the National tonight, we now know who won that massive $451 million jackpot south of the border. A 20-year-old from Florida came forward today to claim the prize. In a statement, he said he has big plans for the winnings. He's going to have some fun and, quote, do some good for humanity. Okay, a new show hosted by legendary late-night TV host David Letterman had its debut today on Netflix. And the big draw on the first episode, an interview with former U.S. President Barack Obama. There were a number of standout moments, but this one caught our eye.
We traveled. We went to a lot of fascinating, interesting places. We visited Japan, had not been to Japan before. Went to an island off Newfoundland, Fogo Island, had never heard of it before. Saw icebergs.
And of course, Fogo Island is already a pretty trendy vacation spot, but a Letterman shout-out sure won't hurt. Well, we are learning more tonight about a bold and unusual plot to smuggle drugs into a prison a couple of days before Christmas in BC. Staff at the Matsqui Institution in Abbotsford, that's a federal medium security prison, they investigated a drone that was hovering in the area. What they found? A package containing 59 grams of THC butter and tobacco. They figure it was worth about $25,000. And speaking of THC, the federal cabinet had marijuana on the mind, wrapping 2 days of meetings in London, Ontario. Legalization is coming this year, and Canadians with past convictions for pot possession are hoping that the government will wipe their records clean. But while the Prime Minister says that may be an eventual possibility, he also says it's not happening just yet.
We recognize that anyone who is currently purchasing marijuana is participating in illegal activity that is funding criminal organizations and street gangs, and therefore we do not want to encourage in any way people to engage in that behavior until the law is changed. Once the law is changed, we will of course reflect on fairness in a way that is responsible moving forward. I think certainly.
Justin Trudeau also says he agrees that the current legislation hurts Canadians. Our senior correspondent, Susan Ormiston, has been delving into the world of legal weed and the business bonanza expected to follow. Her series launches on Monday. Here's a peek.
Oh, these are cute, these little things.
Yeah, they're great, right? So that's a great example of a well-crafted product, right?
Welcome to the slick new branding of the cannabis lifestyle.
It's $335.
Our vase doubles as a bong.
But it's a necklace.
Beautiful, stylish, high-end products for the consumer, like a vape.
Cannabis is heavily consumed in Canada. It is a medicine. It is proven to be a valuable medicine. And with legalization, cannabis is going to sit alongside the other psychoactives that are in our lives. Coffee, alcohol, and numerous others.
It's not the same as coffee.
Why not? Tell me why it's not the same.
Well, Andrew mentioned that lottery winner a moment ago. If money matters, you might recommend your kid play Major League Baseball. Case in point, the result of the arbitration hearing for a Toronto Blue Jays star player. Former league MVP Josh Donaldson has slugged his way to the list of highest paid athletes in Canada, but not quite enough to make it to the very top. His $23 million a year salary for the 2018 season only puts him third among Canadian-based athletes in team sports, and that's just ahead of teammates Russell Martin and Troy Tulowitzki, as well as basketball player Serge Ibaka. They all make $20 million a year. In the top two spots, not hockey players, but two other Toronto Raptors, DeMar DeRozan at $27 million a year, and his backcourt mate Kyle Lowry, who tops the list at $33 million. And hockey players, Andrew, way down the list. Connor McDavid, $12.5 million. Shea Weber for the Montreal Canadiens, $12 million. And, of course, all of this in U.S. dollars.
Poor guys, huh? So far down the list. But that's interesting. You know, you mentioned no hockey players, and you mentioned, you know, kind of the sports that didn't make the cut. I think it's kind of interesting to think about all those sports that didn't make the list, but that might in the future. And so check this out. Esports, right? Essentially competitive video gaming. So the richest esports tournament in the world right now happens over a game called Dota 2. Total prize pool, as you can see right there on your screen, almost $25 million. And the first place team, they take home almost $11 million of that. And of course, that's in US dollars as well. And then just to take things kind of one step further, and you might roll your eyes here, there are a lot of people who think of poker as a sport, a mental sport, perhaps. And so if I think back to the last World Series of Poker main event, take a look at this. First place prize, it's going to blow your mind, $8 million. So, hey, maybe they'll make the list.
Okay, and let the record show that young Andrew Chang is both a esports fanatic and masterful, from what I understand, poker player.
Oh,
so.
is that what you heard?
Yeah, that's what I heard. I also heard that's the end of the program. That is the National for January 12th. Good night.
Good night.